It's cold outside and you're warm and cozy in your blanket, and the only thing that's going to get you out of bed and still bring you lots of comfort is food. So here we are with this episode of me rating your winter recipes to find the most comforting one. And yeah, let's get you started with the first one. Lasannu Kachu by Hani. This is a Gujarati mashed potato dish where green garlic, which is lasan, is the main ingredient and it adds all the flavor and texture. So we obviously start by chopping the green garlic, and I chop both the white parts and the green parts very finely. Add the garlic to a bowl and pour over some hot ghee and oil, and this is going to remove most of the raw flavor of the garlic. I made the whole thing in the same bowl because mashing the potatoes with the green garlic is actually going to break it down even more, and both of them will blend into each other so much better. We add malai to add creaminess, and for more flavor, there's ginger, green chilies, salt and pepper, and garam masala. The malai is definitely a non-negotiable ingredient in my opinion because the heartiness and depth it adds with that slightly sweet taste completely contrasting the garlic, that is what makes this dish. I completely get why you would have this with bajra ki roti because it makes such a huge difference. I actually tried it with regular whole wheat roti off camera as well, and because bajra roti has a bite to it and this earthiness, it goes so well with the kachu because the kachu is creamy and slightly sweet. So when paired with a simple bajra ka roti, it is just so good. I'll give this a 9 for comfort, and this might actually surprise you, but the butter on the bajra ki roti, that actually adds a few extra points. It is so yum, and a 9.5 for taste. Korai Shudir Kochuri with Aloo Dum by Samadrita. Now this dish is definitely not new to me. I've eaten it so many times, so I know how comforting and good it tastes. But have I ever made it? No. So let's make it. I started with the aloo dum because I like to have my main dish which will take the most time ready before I move on to the other components. And for this, for the aloo dum, we take mini cute boiled potatoes and fry them in mustard oil with hing, dry red chilies and turmeric, which gives them a beautiful golden color and a nice crisp. Now it is time to make the gravy and add flavor, so we're doing tomatoes, green chilies, chili powder and curd. The tomatoes and curd give the gravy a nice creamy tang. Mix in the water and crush a few boiled potatoes, and this will just help thicken the gravy. Let this cook till the gravy is thicker and coats the potatoes nicely, and then we finish with kasuri methi and amchur, and that is actually pretty much it for this. It looks so good, like it doesn't even look like a sabzi I made, like I couldn't believe I made this. Now we move on to the kochuri, which is a softer but crisp kachori stuffed with peas, and this was, I think, my first time making stuffed kachoris. I think I've only ever made pyaz kachori for my mom, which is actually very different from this one, but don't quote me on this. The other day I came across an older shot of mine, like a YouTube shot, and I really did not remember making it or posting it, and that's when I realized that I have a tendency to forget things and not remember things. And that sometimes I think I end up lying, like I genuinely believe that what I'm saying is true, but it ends up being far from the truth. So I do end up lying, but just remember, it is never intentional. My mom told me to cook the mutton masala in a lot of oil very patiently for a long period of time, so I did, and it got nice and thick and it was very easy to manage. Stuff the masala in the dough and roll it out, and these are not going to be too thin, which makes the kachori slightly chewy. No matter how many times I do this, deep frying things still scares the shit out of me, and I feel weirdly impressed by myself every time I do it. Like, look at that kachori. It is actually perfect. Was I scared when I was frying it? Yes. But was I very happy after seeing how the kachori turned out? Absolutely. One more thing I've realized about myself is that I just like things better when I make them. Like, this is a dish I've had so many times, so the flavors are extremely familiar to me, but I don't think I've ever liked it as much as I did this time. The aloo dum is so fresh and tangy, which when paired with the kachori, which is slightly heavier because of the filling, it is just so good. I'll give this a 9 for comfort, very comforting and delicious, and I'll give it a 9 for taste. Should I give it a 10 for taste? Nah, I think I'll stick with a 9 because I do want to give it a 10, but I think I would just be a bit biased then. Bhutte Ka Kees by Piyush. This is a popular street food from Indore with the main ingredient being corn. Take 3 sweet corn cobs and grate them. Grating them releases their juice, and this juice is called corn milk, and this is also something I learned from this recipe. Once the corn has been grated, we set it aside and start working on the tempering. Heat up some oil and add mustard seeds and cumin seeds and let those crackle. Add in finely chopped ginger, green chilies, curry leaves, and give this a good mix. Next we have the spices, and for that there's turmeric, chili powder, coriander powder, and a tiny pinch of hing. And as soon as that's mixed, we add all of our grated corn and its milk. Keep mixing this every few seconds. We want to cook down the corn till it's thicker and then go in with milk, which will make it so creamy. Now simmer this corn mixture for a few minutes covered, mixing every few minutes, and it is ready. So creamy, thick and rich. The flavors are not unfamiliar, but it's just so good. Like, it's creamy but spiced in a way that brings you so many complex flavors that just work so well together. Like, the sweet corn is sweet, but we have so many spices and chilies, which is like a sweet and spicy combination. But then we have the milk, which makes it really, really creamy. And then we also have a tang from lemon juice. Like, I know it's so simple, but I swear it's like a whole experience when you eat it. And I honestly didn't go in with a lot of expectations, but this was pleasantly very, very good. Like, I knew I would like it because I love sweet corn, but I did not expect myself to like it this much. So this one, I'll give it a 9.5 for comfort and definitely 100% a 10 for taste, because I'm telling you, you have to try this one. If you have not had Bhutte Ka Kees before, the flavor profile will definitely surprise you because it was nothing like I had expected or had before. Nimona Chawal by Ridhima. Count the number of peas that escaped the blender. Like, seriously, what was I doing? I'd heard about this Matar Sabzi through my primary source of knowledge, which is scrolling through reels and shorts, but I had never tried it myself, so I was very excited for this one, especially after I read that auntie makes it twice or thrice a week, or sometimes even more than that during winters, which I think is a lot. So that just tells me this is going to be so, so good. We blend some fresh green peas, set it aside, and then make a green chutney in the same blender. My camera has been doing this thing where it stops recording in the middle. It says recovering data, and then some of the footage ends up not being recorded. If you know why that's happening, let me know, because that's exactly what happened with the potatoes here. I fried the potatoes with some cumin seeds till golden brown and crispy, and took those out because we'll be using the same pan to make the sabzi. I added some more oil and tempered cumin seeds and hing before going with the green chutney we made earlier. The chutney needs to be cooked for a few minutes till most of the water evaporates and it thickens, and then we can add in the blended peas. Cook the peas for a few minutes and season with turmeric, coriander powder, chili powder and salt. Add in some water to adjust the consistency and cover and cook for at least 10 minutes. In goes some more green peas. This time we don't blend them because this just adds more texture, and this gets finished off with garam masala and amchur and some more water. I think you forgot to tell me when to add back the potatoes, and I also forgot about them, so I just added them to the side, sort of decorated the bowl with them, and yeah, this was amazing. It is very, very simple but so delicious and hearty. We're actually adding spices with a very light hand, with the flavor of the peas being the main moment, and I really liked it. I loved it, but my mom, she though loved it even more than me. She took the recipe from me, and I think she's going to make it again as well, so yeah, she's a huge fan. This recipe genuinely feels like a hug. It is so comforting, so I'll just have to give it a 10 for comfort, and I'll give it a 9 for taste. But if it was up to my mom, this would definitely be getting a 10 on 10 for taste. Gobi Musallam by Shirshi. This one is a whole roasted cauliflower sabzi, so we obviously need a whole cauliflower for this. Start by blanching the cauliflower in water for a few minutes for it to soften a bit, and we'll marinate it with curd, gram flour and basic powdered spices like turmeric, chili, cumin, garam masala and salt. Add the marinated gobi to a pan or kadhai and roast it on all sides. I started with a steel kadhai but switched to a non-stick pan, which helped give the cauliflower a nice crust with less oil. I would actually recommend roasting this in the air fryer or oven for the insides to cook evenly too, and I think it'll frankly be way low effort. Now that the cauliflower is done, let's move on to the gravy, which is actually very simple, but as you'll see, I still managed to mess it up a bit, but nothing crazy, nothing I couldn't fix. Cook ginger, garlic and onions in oil and add in the blended tomatoes. As for the tomatoes, my blender did not feel like cooperating, so it was a chunky puree and a complete mess off camera. So yeah, I knew I needed to blend it again once the water had mostly evaporated. So this is where I think the mistake happened, which I'm not sure if it's actually a mistake or not. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. When blended with the soaked cashews, it's light orangish, but I assume it's supposed to be like a brighter reddish orange. Not that big of an issue though, because the flavor was really good once mixed with salt and fresh cream. That gravy is so creamy and rich, as you can probably tell. Add in the cauliflower and cover and let this simmer for as long as the paratha takes to come together, which actually is a decent amount of time, like a lot of time, but it's okay. Great for the cauliflower, since the longer it simmers in the gravy, the more tender it gets and the flavors of the cauliflower blend with the gravy. The Ajwain Lachha Paratha is actually not as difficult as it looks or sounds. It's just something you need to follow the steps properly and you'll be good. Make a nice tight soft dough with whole wheat flour and let it rest for a bit. Preferably make the dough as your first step, like even before you start with the gravy. Divide the dough into smaller portions and roll out each ball as thin as you can. You don't need to make a perfect circle or anything, any shape works. I saw this technique on the internet one day and it works so beautifully. All you need to do is spread some oil or ghee on the thin sheet of dough and now you want to slice through it. No need to be precise. If you're angry, just take out all of that anger and aggression onto this, and it's a very healthy way to deal with it. Twist the long strands like so and roll this out into a circle, and this is ready to be cooked on both sides. It turns out beautifully golden brown and the gobi musallam is also ready to serve. I know that this is how it's traditionally made, but I would personally, call me boring, but I would just cut the cauliflower into like smaller pieces or at least into slices. If you've seen cauliflower steak, something like that, so that every part of the cauliflower is nicely marinated. Because with this, I just felt like the inside of the cauliflower didn't exactly have a lot of flavor. Look at those flaky layers of the paratha, so good and satisfying. And I'll tell you something, I was absolutely exhausted by the end of this. Like, I didn't even record myself eating it because by the end of it, I was done. I was just so hungry. I was like, give me food. I don't care about taking a video of me eating it. But here's proof that I made it and I ate it. But yeah, it was very tiring. Good thing we're not rating this episode on the basis of ease, because this would lose points when it comes to that. But yeah, we're not rating it on that. I'm going to give this a 9 for comfort because it is so hot and delicious, and I'm going to give this an 8 for taste. Final verdict. We have bhutte ka kees for the win. It is so hearty, so comforting and absolutely delicious, and it is definitely a must try. That is it for this episode of me trying and rating your recipes, and I'll see you very soon on my next one. This time, I pakka promise I'm not going to make you wait for too long. So yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye. She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her.